What is your advice to those that are in their 30s and 40s and working really hard right now on how to be better?
My advice, and I really believe it, out-dream, out-think, outwork. I mean, really outwork,
Yes.
and you'll outperform.
You're listening to the What Gives podcast. Here's your host, the president and CEO of the Northern Cincinnati Foundation, Erin Satzker.
We're coming to you today from Western and Southern. I have two very special guests on the What Gives podcast, Commissioner T.C. Rogers and real estate mogul in Butler County, as well as the CEO of Western and Southern, John Barrett. Thank you both for being here today.
I'm glad I finally got to meet him.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us the history here, because the two of you go way back. Although I heard maybe it was just 4 or 5 years ago, it feels like. But tell me about this. How did you two meet at University of Cincinnati?
Yes, well, we met in the fraternity, SAE, and so I was there first. And so when John came through, I did not blackball him, so that's why he's in here today. And so we just developed a friendship, and
Good.
I've got stuff on him, and he has stuff on me, and so that's why.
And I've got pictures.
Yes, there you go.
And so do I.
Which are just kept in a vault somewhere, which is good. So you two both, I will say, and I want to spend time with each of you on this. To me, pretty extraordinary community involvement, community building that you've done in Cincinnati for you, John, and then TC for you in the greater Cincinnati region in Butler County. And so I want to first start with you, John, on like the why behind all of your community involvement.
Well, I think it came naturally to both of us. And many of our other contemporaries and classmates back then. Even back in the fraternity, we were doing stuff for other people all the time. It's just a natural. I mean, you don't think about it. It's just what you do.
I love it. So talk about kind of University of Cincinnati, 18-year-old John and TC, I will say, around those ages meet. What were you guys studying all those years ago?
I don't remember. We actually started in finance and marketing, whereas some of our other fraternity brothers started in engineer and pre-med, then they transferred over.
Yes.
We were in the business school, and it had a co-op program, although I don't think neither of us did the co-op program.
No, because I found I could get better paying jobs over the summer, and I only had to go the 4 years. I wanted to get out.
Right. And 4. You were smart.
Way.
Yeah.
He get through and get on with life.
Right.
Yeah, but UC was very good foundationally for both of us. And we enjoyed our time there immensely. We enjoyed the education. We both relished the time in our fraternity house. We met so many good people we never would have met otherwise.
Yeah, I believe that.
And I'd say there's 50, 60, which are still close after 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's impressive. You said you have a core group, TC, that still gets together, and it's 50 years later. And I'll tell you, as a college, cross-country track athlete, we don't have that. So that really impresses me. And to me, that is a fraternity or sorority, right? Your college athletic group that you hung out with.
I always felt that the kids who did not take advantage of fraternity missed something a lot.
Yeah.
They don't know it, so they don't think about it.
No, I think about it now, and it sounds like you guys had a nice family, really, and support system.
Great.
This is the truth.
Okay.
We would be in Mount Adams, and then he'd be at the one bar on the corner with his, what I call his blue blood friends. And then he'd come over like across the street to the other corner with his buddies. So it'd be,
Got to keep going back and forth.
That's right.
Different guys.
That's right.
Keep it all going.
That's right. I understand that statement. So then what took you from there into your respective careers? I heard you started out, John, in New York.
I went to New York right out of college for 2 years, and then the idea was to go to a good business school.
Okay.
And I got there and I just fell in love with it, and it agreed with me. And so I stayed 16.
Wow. Did you really?
Same company.
That's amazing. Yeah, quite impressive because the hustle and bustle of New
What you
York.
learn from all those experiences is, everybody's your mentor. I was fortunate because I was one of 4 out of 19 of our training program who did not have an MBA.
Okay.
So we immediately bonded. The 4 of us had looked out for each other to say, we got to get through this thing.
Yes.
And, it was one of those hairy programs where you didn't wear a blue shirt because you're going to perspire through when the guys are questioning you.
Yes.
But because I was from the Midwest, I didn't have all the sort of the hang-ups a lot of the East Coast guys did. I didn't worry about a lot of stuff. I didn't know any better.
Right. Right. Which is kind of a nice blessing about
bliss.
Yeah.
Right.
About the Midwest. We're pretty happy-go-lucky. I know I was a server and bartender when I was in DC working on Capitol Hill, and just to make ends meet at 22 years old, I'd go pick up some shifts after working for Boehner's office. And the East Coast girls especially, didn't love waiting on families, didn't, certain tables. And I always was just like, oh, why not, and what restaurant in DC, I don't know that you would frequent this. It was called RFD in Chinatown, right across from the hockey stadium. And it was a beer garden with like 400 different beers, and it was a really fun place. But yeah, it was a lot of life lessons there at that bar, maybe even more than Capitol Hill. So I like to hear your happy-go-lucky attitude, because I had that as well when I was waiting tables in DC and learning lots of lessons.
Well, so speaking of lessons, and John had that experience working for New York guys, and both of us, and I just had one here in the last few months, where you're negotiating with a New York group, and they think that this is going to be easy with those country bumpkins. I won, and John won, so bring them on.
That's right. I think that's the attitude, really. And I think that's the grit and resilience from the Midwest that I so appreciate. I want to dive into just development in the overall region. The Cincinnati Open comes to mind. Can you talk about the history there?
Well, our history at the Cincinnati Open, this is 125th year, so that predates me by a lot. But in 2001, we had civil disturbances. They were in April. In June, I got a phone call from Paul Flory running the tournament. He said, I've been all around to the other big companies in town trying to get a sponsor. My title sponsorship runs out next year. And if I can't get one, we're going to have to move it. We've got some pretty attractive offers from a couple cities. I believe it was back then, I'm going on memory, Chicago, Houston, maybe Charlotte again. Might have been Atlanta. I can't remember. But long story short, it was gone. So it was a Friday. I said, Paul, give me till Monday afternoon, because we have an executive lunch every Monday with our top 20 or so people. So as a group, we all said, let's do it. We got involved. And then 2 or 3 years into it, I said to Paul, the times are changing. He always did a really wonderful earlier tournament for the older guys who are, legends, but not very well off financially. And that was fine, but times are changed. And I said, Paul, we've got to get a women's tournament same time. So we bought the 3rd level women's tournament, and we had Lindsay Davenport won it the first year. We had a couple stars, but not many.
Right.
Then we upgraded it eventually a couple years later to up to the Masters 1000 level. And so we had an equal women's and men's tournament, and we ran the women's tournament the first week and the men's the second. And through some trading and whatnot, we finally got it all into one. And then we were one of the big 9 tournaments, other than the 4 Grand Slams in the world,
right?
Which was great. And everything was going along fine. And we knew we didn't want to lose it for Cincinnati, but we put some serious money into it, upgrade the facilities and whatnot, and it kept getting better and better every year. Mm-hmm. So about a dozen years ago, the United States Tennis Association, Paul Flory wanted to sell. Mm-hmm. He was getting up there in years and health and everything. And we thought the USTA would be the best owner for it. Then you're always at the table. We were pleased that they bought it. Well, they treated it a little bit as a tune-up to the U.S. Open, which we didn't appreciate. It was still great, don't get me wrong. And then they put a ton of money into the big U.S. tournament every year.
Sure.
And then COVID hit, and so they had no attendance and somewhat modified the next.
Wow.
They were under the gun. So when they saw the Madrid tournament sell for so much money, they put it on the market and they sold it. We put a very credible bid in. I think Ben Navarro, who won almost $300 million. So that's the way that went. Ben bought it, and then last summer experienced his first real ownership of the tournament in Cincinnati. And he and his guys, Bob Moran, became very convinced that this was the right place for it and it should stay here.
Absolutely.
Even though Charlotte was the original thought.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's lovely. I go every year. I already have my tickets for next Friday is the tournament, and just very much enjoy it. I might enjoy the champagne tent too much that you guys have there. But really, it's a great event. I remember going with my dad years ago to watch Agassi and just kind of the growing up memories of tennis stars and being able to see that, front and center in Cincinnati is just a great experience. So I'm already geared up and ready for next Friday, and I can't wait. I will definitely grab a bottle of champagne though. So kudos to you for keeping, that it's here. And
it was more than Western Southern, all of Cincinnati, Butler County, Warren County, Hamilton County, everybody came together. We never would have got $130 million out of the various government agencies if everybody had not come together.
Right.
The downtown business community, big time. Everybody became a sponsor.
It's so great.
It was wonderful. And the fact that they're going to call it the Cincinnati Open is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal.
Which was a surprise because
there was thought that they would make it the Midwest Open or B of A Open or something, but I think they're delighted with that.
Good. I know I'm ready for it. TC, I'm thinking back, to I think the first time I met you, I was working for, at the time, House Minority Leader, maybe John Boehner was before he was Speaker. Right. So let's talk about, I guess, going back on why in the world would you enter the politics with the scene it is, and how did that happen? Because you're doing a tremendous job, I would say, leading the Butler County area, involved with OKI. So what made you want to do that? I mean, I think it takes a special person that cares about community to want to go in it.
Well, you're very kind, but I wouldn't think that. But I'd always helped other candidates for maybe 25 years before. And then actually the Chief Justice, Sharon Kennedy.
Love Sharon Kennedy.
Put me on the Butler County Budget Task Force. And Butler County was barely had the reserves that they were supposed to. So from that, I met some other people that have been a great friends since. Found a way and put together a proposal. I thought they needed me, so I ran against the incumbent, and I was fortunate enough to win. And
I remember that.
After that,
I think of it, was it tight or was it not? I'm trying to think back on that initial
11 votes.
That's right. I do remember that now.
Vote against her.
And since then, no one has run against me until this time here.
Okay.
But TC, you're very fortunate. You really don't have any enemies.
No, he's
does
a lot of
good. That was one of my campaign slogans. Being a builder and everything.
Yes.
I've been around for ever, and nobody hates me.
Right. Well, I have a lot of respect for you, TC. My grandpa was a home builder. I know that you're a home builder as well. I know
I
what.
just stopped.
Did you?
A year and
Yes.
a half
Well,
ago,
it was
46
time
years.
probably to relax and smell the roses. You're doing enough,
No,
I think.
he was a home builder. Now he's a homemaker.
Yes, there you go. There you go. I love it.
You had brought up about how John was with the a tennis tournament, but he's been the point man on several other things like trying to get the soccer tournament, the World Cup here. Was that right? Then there was another big one, and
Wow.
he's there pitching, with
the
delegation.
We got the Republican convention to Ohio, a few years back, and we really wanted Cincinnati. We convinced those guys that Ohio was
I
right.
remember. Yes.
And we had Cincinnati lined up until they saw the Heritage Bank Center, and they said no. And so I walked through it, and I see why. The hallways are so narrow. And in Republican or any convention, people want to socialize in the hallways, not on the floor.
Yeah.
It's true. It
just wasn't set up for it.
It's true. So is that another goal?
That's how we got to Cleveland.
Is that a goal, do you think, for Cincinnati? Because I've heard Jeff Birding talk about that.
I'd like to think we could have a great arena. Jeff wants it over on the west side. I prefer it downtown near the hotels. I think it's important to be near the hotels.
Yes, I agree.
And
love Lytle Park Hotel.
We could do it downtown.
Yes.
But Erin, you're younger, but my son just moved back from Phoenix. He was there 20 years, and so I've been saying to keep kids or students in Butler County or the Cincinnati area here that you not only have to provide them with a job,
yes,
but you have to provide them with a good time. And
it's true. All of that is true.
All these venues now,
right,
which are really equal to the coast, but it's less crime, so you may not get hurt.
Right, and more affordable.
And so then when they come to Cincinnati, they all come over to the eastern end where Lytle Park is now, because that is it's bouncing.
It is bouncing. I literally just had a mom's night out down at Lytle Park, and they have the rooftop bar area.
Well, they're still
super safe.
About you guys being there.
They might be. We had a good time.
Across the street to the Phelps.
I have not yet.
Double rooftop.
I have not yet. I've heard about it.
Good music, and it's going well. We have purchased the right to purchase the Masonic Temple, which is right across the street.
Okay.
340,000 feet of entertainment opportunities.
That's incredible.
Everything you can ever dream of.
What are some ideas? Are we allowed to know some ideas?
Our idea right now is
just put it together.
Yes, yes.
We are working with Marriott on the feasibility of maybe a JW.
Oh my gosh.
On top of a brand new parking structure, which will be next to the Masonic Temple.
Right.
Masonic Temple has all this wonderful space in it, half theater too.
Yes.
But it's
got incredible.
A 320-person church, a 500-person amphitheater up on the roof, a 850-person auditorium just right next to this building, and then it's got these 4 huge rooms plus a whole floor of restaurants. You could have 2 or 3 restaurants on the floor, a library. I mean, it's got all kinds of potential. And because the rooms are so big, they're maybe 2 or 3 stories tall. Lots of athletic stuff can be put in there. So we're got to study all that stuff, but it's going to be a place where people are going to want to come.
Absolutely.
Have fun.
Maybe ride a lime around town. I don't know whoever has done that recently in a hot pink dress, but if you see that happen.
I think I saw TC in the hot pink dress.
I think so, TC, riding a lime around town. So something that we do like to ask CEOs and leaders is kind of a fun question. So when, let's say the world is ending and you get a bug out bag, a bag to put stuff in. You can't, don't use any trite things like my family or my dog. What would you put in your bug out bag? If you could bring some items.
Rocket fuel.
Rocket fuel. There you go. I like that answer. I've heard it all. I've literally heard bow and arrows from some of these YPOs. I've heard,
Okay, I've
heard
so
wine.
I would take a Bible.
Yes.
A 12-pack of Diet Mountain Dew.
That's a popular one with people.
My Amazon Prime card because they deliver by the afternoon. And a picture of you, Erin.
There we go. TC is always on the money with his responses. No, it's kind of a fun question, and you learn so much about people. We have very serious answers and we have funny answers, and it's meant to be whatever you're feeling in that moment. But I like that answer. That's a fun one. So you have to answer for one another when you're 20 years old. Okay.
If I'm answering for TC, it would obviously be a hot car with a big engine. And it's got to be a stick shift.
I like that answer. Starting with you, TC, can you share a story with our listeners on a big risk that you took and how you overcame that?
I started out in Atlanta doing apartment projects turnarounds. My wife wanted to come back, so we did, and we started here. And then the early 80s came. I was back then $430,000, which I owed.
Mm-hmm.
The business thing to do was to file bankruptcy.
Right.
But I left here and took the family to Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
And so did real estate and building there, and made enough
mm-hmm.
To pay most of it back. And then I don't know whether you all remember, Show Realtors
yes.
was the number one realtor, enticed me to move back. At first I said no, but then 2 weeks later I called back, and a good thing he did. And so I came back in Oklahoma City 4 months after I got back here. Their oil business just turned, and I would have been in trouble. But ever since I got back, paid all the money back, and it's been good. So I'm not afraid of any risks now.
Yeah, once you've overcome something, right, like that, and I think it's pretty amazing. What about you, John? I'm sure you have a story here.
Well, when I went to New York, I didn't know anybody. There was a guy from Cincinnati who was also going same time. I barely knew him, but he became a wonderful friend. We ended up moving in together and stayed together for a long, long time. Eric, yeah, and the risk I took was coming back,
right?
Because I was working for a very successful bank. Western Southern, when I came back, was still a home service life insurance company. The model didn't work like it used to, but they didn't stop collecting them. And so my job was to figure out how we could keep that business going. In addition to that, we have 10 other businesses.
And what's your assets now? It's like
AUM
77. AUM assets under management be 117 billion.
That's what I was seeing on this wall. They have this very impressive wall here as you walk into Western and Southern, and it was the timeline that we were able to see and read about. And then I saw 100 billion AUM, and I thought, wow, that is very impressive.
Now 117, it's grown, but
yes.
We have become a preeminent money manager, which was far cry from, I remember my old directors caustic about that. And then they were mad that we didn't use the Western Southern name. I said, well, if we're going to attract and keep the kind of people we're going to need, it can't be an insurance vehicle. It's got to be separate from it. And
that's right.
That was the start of Fort Washington and Investment Advisors, and also Eagle Realty, the same way. We have professionals, and by the way, they're owned by an insurance company. They are one of us, and we are one of them. But
right,
from a branding standpoint, it was a good strategy.
Yeah, it's a very good strategy. So what are your days like then? So John, for you, and then TC, I'm going to ask you the same thing. How do you start your day? Like a typical day? And before retirement for you, what was your typical day?
I get up and I exercise at home.
Okay.
get loosened up.
What's your routine? I need to know what your routine is.
It's a secret. I do push-ups, sit-ups.
That's awesome.
Leg
Yeah.
scissors, stretching.
Every day,
Right.
really?
Yeah, 7 days a week.
That's great.
I do push-ups 6 days a week. I give my shoulders a rest one day.
Good.
But I have to do that or I don't feel good.
100%. It's so good for you.
Pre-COVID, I was always hitting our fitness center across the street. I do half an hour on the elliptical there. Sometimes a couple of minutes or maybe 3 or 4 or 5 on the stair climber, which I just hated.
Yes.
And I've only done it sporadically since then. I got to get back to that. But I get in early, which I like.
I think that's good. Yes.
I work a long day. I work a 10, 12-hour day.
Okay.
Still.
Yes, I believe you. And what about you, TC?
Well,
before retirement?
Well, I mean, yes. When I was building, I'd get up about before 6, and with the construction business, you did most of your calls and scheduling before 9 o'clock. If you didn't do them, then you're behind all day. So then it was just a matter of what came up, and I thought that once I stopped, that I would have a lot more time, just doing my commissioner duties. But for some reason, there's a lot of stuff to do as much as you want to do.
Right.
But the difference is, whereas I had to be at 6 or 7 appointments every day at a certain time, now I might have to be at 2.
Sure.
But I'm gone like 3 nights a week. I think John is too.
Right.
We still have to attend functions.
Yes, you do. I know what that's like too. And it's a part of it.
You get credit for showing up.
Right.
I remember over the years, different guys saying, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" Because it's how you get things done. You know people. You're able to work with people you know better than people you don't.
It's true.
It's just sort of in your DNA.
I truly believe that. As I think about our role at Northern Cincinnati Foundation and looking at the impacts you two have had up till now and will continue to have.
We're not done.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, we talked about a couple of your goals, but I guess I would want to know for each of you, impacts that you want to see still beyond, kind of those earlier hotel goals, but maybe philanthropy or, what do you see as that you still just really want to tackle?
From my standpoint, I'm working very hard for my brother Bill and his cancer program. He's one of the best doctors in the world when it comes to cancer, and he's recruited a tremendous team. And I just want to help them get the funding they need to do all the stuff they got to do to take care of all the people they do.
That's amazing. Can you tell me where this cancer program is?
He's over at the University of Cincinnati.
Okay.
And he's co-head of the whole cancer effort.
Called the
Barrett Cancer Center.
Got it. Okay.
And, named it for my dad, who was also an oncologist. Right. And he got the original money together.
That's fantastic.
It's been a good process watching this all happen. I want to help financially get the goals that he needs to achieve.
I mean, cancer impacts so many of us when you think about that.
1 out of 2 men, 1 out of 3 women.
I did not know that this was the statistic, way higher than I thought.
Yeah.
And then TC, I know you're a community leader, obviously on the political front. What are some impacts you would like to see happen in the future?
I think it has been mentioned before, but I feel the measurement of my success is how many kids I can get, hopefully say in Butler County, but at least in the area. Because if you have the young ones stay and keep the brains here,
you have me.
then
I'm staying.
Right.
And we have to do it so that we continue to grow and we, are a great region and attract talent. And I think that's a great point. So for those that are in their 30s and 40s and working really hard right now, for the business owners or community leaders, what is your advice to those individuals listening to this podcast on, how to be better?
My advice, and I really believe it, out dream, outthink, outwork. I mean, really outwork.
Yes.
And you'll outperform.
It's great advice. What about you, TC?
Mine's pretty simple. It's just don't worry, be ready.
I like that. That's great advice.
I think he meant don't worry and be happy.
No. Whatever happens.
Be ready. Yes. Just be ready.
Yourself,
yeah.
So you know you can always get through it.
That's right.
Both of us believe
yes.
we can get through anything.
Well, I have to say, great advice. It was an absolute pleasure sitting down with both of you gentlemen today.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for coming on the What Gives podcast.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
To learn more about how to expand your philanthropy, please reach out to the Northern Cincinnati Foundation.